Hi, we're Ruth and Brian from Roaming to Own. We're a family of 4 travelling the world to pay off debt and save for a house.
If you watched our last video, you'll know that we had a boomer month. We had earned lots of income and made massive inroads to our debt. And as we'd expected, and I think we said in the previous video, the next month was not going to be quite so good, and that came to pass. It was not that good.
Yeah, it was pretty horrific actually.
Perhaps if we start by talking about the accommodation we had, what was your feeling about the place that we stayed
I mean,
at?
it was pretty incredible. Like, there's an infinity pool upstairs. It's on the 36th floor. Immaculate. The whole place was immaculate actually, so that was really great. And there was a massive kids pool as well, so it allowed us to be having a great time while we weren't actually going out and doing that much.
The building was finished in January 2022 and was super high tech.
Super high tech, but then also kind of ghetto sometimes, where it was like the lift just wouldn't work.
Well, not that it wouldn't work, it's just there weren't quite enough lifts for 36 floors.
Yeah, not enough lifts. We'd have doors that we couldn't get in and out of at times. So yeah, it was kind of like, it looked beautiful and amazing, but there were some things that were a bit glitchy within it.
And the room that we had, although it was 2 bedrooms, it was a little narrow hallway that we existed in.
Yeah, it also had a gap between the kids' room and ours, I think, for the air conditioning to come through. So there was no room in that apartment that you could just shut the door and shut each other out.
No major privacy. Wasn't ideal from that perspective, but overall we were actually recommending the place to someone else later on, so it obviously was a pretty good accommodation compared to a lot of others.
The location was awesome as well. So the location was right by a big supermarket, and then it was only a few minutes away from a couple of beaches as well.
Yeah, which was one of our learnings that maybe didn't help us in some respects. We were 2 minutes walk to a supermarket, so what do we do every day? We walk to the supermarket. The accommodation only cost a little over $900 New Zealand for the month, which was incredible really. Way less than we spent the previous month and way less than we normally spend when we're back in New Zealand. We also had 1 extra night's accommodation in Ho Chi Minh. We travelled up there just before Christmas to buy a Nintendo Switch for the kids and stayed in a horror show of accommodation
It was
for the night.
so bad. So we booked a place, it was all very last minute. We couldn't get the Nintendo Switch online just because our phones wouldn't allow us to get the usual online shop that everyone uses called Shopee. For some reason we couldn't get it. And so Nintendo Switches aren't that common in the regions in Vietnam, so we had to go to Ho Chi Minh City. So we decided to do it last minute, and we booked accommodation last minute. Really nice place, awesome. Get there, no response from the person. We waited probably an hour, we rang booking.com, like it was just a nightmare, and then we just took multiple taxis to try and find some accommodation. Eventually found this place, and it was
quite late at night, absolutely infested with mosquitoes. It was
just dirty and yuck. So
it was awful.
We were meant to stay 2 nights there because obviously it cost us a bit to get up to Ho Chi Minh. We took a boat and then we took a taxi home, so it was quite an expense. But we just couldn't do it. Like, the kids wanted to go home, we wanted to go home. It was just a nightmare.
Home to our nice flash place in Vung Tau, which was where we were staying, south of Vietnam, or Ho Chi Minh. So all up our accommodation for the month was $956, which was incredibly cheap for when you look at the quality of the accommodation we were staying in. That's really just unbelievable, and nothing like the money we were spending back in New Zealand.
Yeah, so our food and like cash out, so obviously we got cash out for most things, that was just over 2,000, so it was 2,136. So obviously that included Christmas meal, Christmas day, stuff during the
present
day.
Purchases, mostly.
It's a bit more than we wanted to be spending. Obviously our overall goal was about $600 a week for everything, and we definitely went past that this month, so that was a little bit gutting, but also just got to take into account the fact that it was Christmas, and what we would be spending in New Zealand would be vastly different during this time of year.
And also we bought some things like my glasses needed to be upgraded, so I bought prescription sunglasses for $75. I bought normal glasses for $75.
I bought Ray-Bans that I didn't need.
Ruth bought Ray-Bans she didn't need.
They look awesome.
But so we loosened up a little bit too much perhaps, but it was Christmas time. Things are going to be back to the way they should be. Hopefully our income will improve as well. Yeah.
So that miscellaneous stuff was about 1,200, so that's including the Nintendo Switch and games and all of that jazz. So that definitely was an expenditure that was higher than the previous month before. That also included our Christmas Day visit to the craziest theme park you've ever been to.
Yeah, it was a crazy theme park. We had to take a gondola up to it, and we were literally, I think we were just about the only people there. It was on Christmas Day, there was almost no one else there. Most of the rides were straight out of the 70s, it felt like.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been so sick on a ride. Both me and Brian were completely green.
Ooh.
It looked like a ride that was just going to go like that. You kind of just go up and down or something.
But
That's
no,
what
all it did was spin around so fast that...
It was like teacup spinning round, but you were thrown to the side, and I honestly
And it was
felt like
so
I was
fast that Riley screamed and they had to stop it, and I was thankful, because I would have looked a bit girly squealing and telling them to stop. But
and then we hopped off that and went to a 4D thing, and I just was like, oh my gosh, like I am going to vomit in here.
Vom. The rides were tragic, the food was tragic, but the one thing that they really didn't push, which they should have, because that was the only amazing thing about it, was they had this cool ride that you would...
An alpine roller coaster.
Yeah, like an alpine roller coaster, a little bit like the luge in Rotorua in Queenstown, but
you're attached to it.
You're actually attached to it, and yeah, it goes down the hill.
You can definitely fang it though. I had Harvey with me, and him were slamming it around the corners. Admittedly, they were fixing the ride at one point just before we got off.
Yeah, it's a bit disconcerting when they let you on it whilst they're still welding parts of it together to stop it falling apart.
The other nuts thing, which unfortunately we didn't get too much video of because we were talking to family back home, we walked down this massive path. We didn't know that you could actually take the alpine roller coaster down there. We walked down probably, it was a K, I reckon, about that. Down the hill, and they have an organic farm there, but then they also have like ostriches that you can ride, which and we didn't, but they were humongous.
Yeah, there were deer that were just wandering up to you and happy for you to pet, and porcupines and donkeys that looked like they were ready for the factory. They were not. The
kids went on a horse ride without any helmets, any safety protection. They just jumped on the back of this horse. So yeah, that was, I reckon that if they had publicised like we have this amazing area that you can just walk in and hang out with the animals, there were pigs everywhere and stuff. It was really cool. So I mean, the views from there were incredible as well. We also went to, so Vung Tau's pretty small, so it has like a Christ the Redeemer statue, which Brian hates me saying because he's like, the kids are going to think they've been to Brazil and Christ the Redeemer. Harvey has actually.
Oh, he has actually. Yeah, he has been.
So yeah, they've got this Christ the Redeemer which you can go up on in. It was funny, the morning we went to go to that, we had nice hot coffee, so nice warm milk, and then we proceeded to walk up, and I thought, hey, this is going to be like an easy walk. Like, you know, and you read in like hiking things and it's like, oh, lots of stairs, be wary. I was like, this is just going to be one of those tourist things where they say lots of stairs and we'll be sweet as. It was not sweet as. About halfway up, I was like, I just need some air. And then we were sitting there and I'm like, I'm going to be sick. So, yeah, hot latte and lots of steps were not that fun.
And so the old man who never does any exercise just had to slow down let her catch up and wait for her to have a little vom and, you know.
In terms of the lifestyle there, obviously we were staying as brand new, so very clean, very nice. And then they have like Front Beach, which on my Instagram I've put lots and lots of footage of that because I was obsessed because the lights were amazing, the boats were amazing.
In fact, here's a little bit of a run of some of the stuff we did at the beach.
So yeah, a lot of our time was at Front Beach. Like I guess for our kids, that'll probably be their biggest memory is just the time that we went to the playground really late at night. Often that's what we would do is end up at the playground and all these little kids would end up playing with Brian and I would take my walk down and check out the boats.
I literally have 10 kids chasing me. I don't know, at one place where we're at, I was just sitting there. The next thing I'm being slammed by about 10 kids with blow-up balloons. I don't know what it is. It was so cool
though, like it was such a cool place. This lady was just blowing up balloons for the random kids. There were different groups doing like K-pop dances and just kids playing on like all their little scooters that lit up. It was just the night atmosphere in the Vung Tau, that area was pretty cool actually.
Vung Tau itself is actually a really quiet place compared to Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh is just, I've got some footage of what the traffic looked like, but it just does not do justice. No. You are, at certain intersections when you're sitting in a taxi, it is just a river. There's no traffic lights, so no one bothers with that sort of stuff, or road rules. Basically, the bigger you are, you just kind of move where you want to go slowly, and a massive stream in all directions just swarms around.
It does amaze me though, like we didn't see really accidents at all. It's just, it's kind of like orchestrated chaos really.
So Vung Tau is actually quite a quiet place, but on New Year's it was out of control. The streets were closed off, there were parties everywhere.
There was a main stage where the guy was singing and it just sounded like karaoke, which was horrific.
We walked past this nightclub, which was kind of open to the front, and the kids just stood there in amazement listening to all this techno nightclub music, which was really quite good.
It was actually quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Vung Tau itself is chill, but on the weekends, because it is so close to Ho Chi Minh, all the people who have batches there or come for a weekend away come to Vung Tau to party, and their version of party is karaoke. So we will have you could be in our bed or on the deck, and there is at least by a minimum four lots of different karaoke.
Yeah, now here, have a listen to what we heard on Friday, Saturday
Daily,
nights.
like weekly rather.
Until about 10 o'clock at night. One night we had one main strangled cat singing, and a couple of strangled cats singing a backup behind them, and that was something to behold. I wish I'd recorded
this German family that we met who were really cool, and we actually had dinner with them on the last night. He was telling me that they were talking about the same thing that sounded like cats, that their little daughter, who was maybe, I think, how old was she, 3?
3,
yeah. She would refer to the cats outside when the karaoke would go off. She was talking about the cats making noise outside. It was unreal.
Yeah. Our transportation around Vung Tau was really inexpensive. Yeah. You could catch a beautiful taxi, new car, and it would cost you...
padding on the roof, eh?
They all had funny padding on the ceiling. Despite the horrendous traffic, they seemed to think nothing of having YouTube playing on the dash directly in front of the driver, so he could sit there and switch through videos whilst he's driving along with people on mopeds swerving around him. We didn't notice anyone getting killed or hit or injured, so must work. Maybe we need to allow that back in New Zealand. But so maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. So on transportation we spent more than we would normally. It was $458, and I think that was one of the key learnings for us. Because Vung Tau was a couple of hours south of Ho Chi Minh, we ended up spending quite a lot on either taxis or a ferry to go up to
it's
Ho
about
Chi
80
Minh a
New
couple
Zealand
of times.
each way, eh?
Yeah, and so because we had a taxi down, we had to go up again via a boat, and then we took a taxi back, and then we had to go back up when we were leaving. Those end up adding up to be quite significant amounts of money. And although we had a supermarket walking distance, if we wanted to go anywhere else in Vung Tau, it was a case of booking a taxi. So although they were quite cheap at $2 or $3 per trip, We were sometimes doing them 2 or 3 times a day, so $458 is a bit more than I'd want to spend in a month over here. Nothing like the 1,500 odd that we were spending back in New Zealand, but boy, didn't help our budget.
So cell phones, so that's our data plan, etc. How much gig was it?
I can't remember, but it was a lot.
It was a lot.
We didn't run out.
And so that was about $70 for both me and Brian to have cell data. I also added the ability to make phone calls to mine because I was trying to get Shopee on my phone or just any of the online shops just to be able to get the Nintendo Switch. It took up a lot of my brain space trying to get this friggin' thing for the kids. And so that, again, I think it was $5 New Zealand or something just to be able to, the ability to make calls. So it's still pretty cheap compared to what we're paying in New Zealand for that.
On a slightly different topic, the cost of goods is incredibly cheap. A lot of it's made in Vietnam, so you can buy alcohol for very little, clothing, pots and pans, just about anything.
Suitcases, even though we're not buying suitcases, Brian keeps compulsively looking at suitcases.
I love pricing suitcases. You can buy the most incredible stuff there.
He's like, guess how much the suitcase costs? Awesome, you made me chuck 2 suitcases away in Bali. I don't care.
Yeah, we're not buying them, but hey, that's the good thing. And that's the great thing about travelling hand luggage only. Whenever anyone eyes something they want to buy, we go, we've got no room in the luggage. Too bad.
Yeah, so we bought, we've bought some shoes over there. The kids got some Crocs and some of those Croc slip slides. I don't know what they're called, the things they chuck in there.
The lights that flash, you mean, on the Crocs?
Just that stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff's pretty cheap. We never really got great coffee. It's our taste bud, I think. Lots of people rave about Vietnamese coffee, so I think it's just a personal preference.
Yeah, it has an aftertaste that I don't like.
He keeps calling it petroleum, so
yeah.
Obviously it wasn't our buzz.
They are quite a big oil producer, so I suspect there's a chance that they soak their coffee in oil before they give it to people. I don't know.
So the flights cost us $480 from Bali. So that was for all of us. Obviously we were hand luggage only. We really worked hard to get that hand luggage down. We managed to get it to 2 big carry-on, one that was just a bit of clothes on top. So that was 3 actually, and then our backpacks. So yeah, we really worked hard to get it down lower.
And nobody even bothered to weigh it, so great.
We were strategizing all these plans, like how we have to leave the bag there and all of that, and came to naught. So that was $480 total for us for the flights, and then our visas were about $318. Part of that was because Brian had to have an emergency visa.
Yeah, we applied for all 4 visas, but for some reason they didn't like my photo. They didn't think it worked. So I reapplied for an emergency visa and paid about $80 for it.
Yeah.
Used the same photo and it got accepted. So
very frustrating. Frustrating in the fact that we were losing time, we got our visas and then we had just hardly any time to get the one fixed, and there's nothing coming back at you saying this is what you need to do. It just says photo has been denied.
And so there was a possibility that I was going to have to stay in Bali and Ruth would have to go on with the kids, and I'd have to just pay for another flight.
Which thank goodness we didn't, because the actual
the emergency came through the night before or the day or so before?
6 o'clock or something.
It was frightening.
From an expense perspective, we definitely ate out too much at Western restaurants, and that was partly for the kids. And I think that was something I actually regret from Vietnam is I think a couple of days before we left, me and Brian just had some street food, and it was next level amazing, we went back the same night to the same place because it was so good. And
took the kids and they complained bitterly, but who cares? We had delicious food and it cost us next to nothing.
And so that's the decision that we made going forward, is that I'm just going to give my kids Western food at home. You can eat that. You can have your tuna bacon, your pesto pasta and all of that jazz. We're going to eat local food and we're going to enjoy it, and we're not going to hear you complaining, and we're not going to be spending heaps going to the Western restaurants. So that's given us a definitely me a clear idea of how I want to do that going forward. You know, it wasn't the kids' choice to come on this trip, so to expect them to always eat local food, I don't feel like it's fair. And so I'm quite happy to be cooking them Eastern food, but also us not missing out on it.
Yeah, having a setup where we're able to cook Western food for them is also handy.
Yeah, so I think in general we're, I guess, not given a fright, but it's kind of like, okay, we definitely haven't achieved what we wanted to achieve this month. I still feel like, well, let's give ourselves grace. Like if we were back in New Zealand, we would be going backwards very fast at this time of the year. It's a really, really hard time for our business, and so like we're just flatlining.
Because of the nature of our business, although our income was pretty mediocre for the month, we were actually doing quite a lot of work that's going to produce quite a significant amount of income next month, hopefully. Hopefully. It's not like it's all lost. It just is going to be a bit of a roller coaster ride for it. And so our debt went up by around $2,000. Here's the exact amount that our debt increased by for the month. As I say, normally it would be tragic for us most years, so that actually isn't quite so bad.
Yeah. So we're going to keep going towards our goal. There's nothing stopping us. We're very optimistic about the next couple of months. We've got lots going on in terms of work. I've got schooling for the kids starting. So that's going to be interesting through the New Zealand Correspondence School. That's happening. We're in Cambodia. We're going to be going to Phnom Penh and Siem Reap. So excited to see a World Heritage Site. Always love those. We're just loving it still. Like there's no regrets so far. Hey?
No, we've not felt homesick so much. You've got social media, so the kids are able to talk to their grandparents and talk to other family and talk to their friends and play games with their friends if they want to, which if they were back in New Zealand they'd probably be doing anyway. Who wants to meet someone face to face? That's old school. There just hasn't been any. I think it's because we're so clear on what we're doing, and so any pang for family and all of that, and obviously because New Zealand is having a boomer summer, has actually just been more of a like, oh man, I'm so glad the weather's not complete custard like it was the other years, and look how great that looks, and can't wait to get back there one day. But we're really happy with our decision, and just feel like it's the right thing for us. We'll catch you in the next video.
Bye.